Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here with us today. If you're a focused learner looking to really unpack the brilliant minds that shape our world, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're exploring a true visionary. We are talking about a guy who didn't just transform the land, he completely, radically transformed how an entire generation of architects even thinks about the land. So let's dive right into the legacy of Tom Doak and the modern minimalist movement in golf course architecture.
Right off the bat, I want you to listen to this. The best golf course is one where the golfer remembers the land long after the score has been forgotten. I want you to really hold on to that thought because it's literally the cornerstone of Doak's entire philosophy. He fundamentally believed that restraint, doing less, often creates the absolute most memorable experiences. It's not about the architect's ego. It is entirely about the earth beneath your feet.
All right, Section 1, Challenging the Status Quo. So, to really understand Doak's genius, we first have to look at what he was up against. Throughout his career, he quietly challenged the industry's absolute oldest assumptions. For the longest time, the prevailing wisdom was just that bigger was better. The whole industry was locked in this crazy arms race of earth-moving, just determined to conquer the landscape with an army of bulldozers. And Doak? He completely rejected that. He countered with what was, at the time, a deeply disruptive thesis. Less is more.
What if less is actually more? That simple little question was the spark that ignited a total movement. It transformed from just his personal design style into this massive industry-wide paradigm shift. Doak essentially forced the golf world to stop and realize that possibility alone doesn't equal greatness. Just because we have the technology to move mountains of earth doesn't mean we actually should.
And his philosophy wasn't just some nice theoretical idea. It delivered real five-star results across the board. His credibility is built on this profound sense of environmental stewardship. Because of his influence, architects today routinely preserve natural dunes, they celebrate native grasses, and they actively minimize earth moving. A lot of golfers today just call it good architecture, but we have to remember it was Doak who helped remind the game why those natural elements matter so much in the first place.
Which brings us to part 2, the quiet revolution.
This philosophy didn't take over the world with flashy press conferences. It was proven in the dirt, one single course at a time. Back in 2001, Pacific Dunes totally reshaped modern destination golf, proving that a purely natural approach could absolutely captivate the world. By 2004, Cape Kidnappers and Barnbougle Dunes were pulling in worldwide acclaim. Fast forward through the 2010s, and his meticulous restoration projects just completely cemented his authority. And today, his global influence is undeniable. The results were just so breathtaking that developers and even his rival architects were simply forced to pay attention.
The absolute crucial takeaway here is this: golf does not need to conquer nature. It belongs within it. By actually executing his vision, Doak made preserving native landscapes a mark of excellence rather than a compromise. Walking courses became wildly popular again, and those firm, fast conditions returned, which is amazing because it invites player imagination rather than just demanding aerial precision.
Moving on to part 3, Teaching Without a Classroom. Now, what's super fascinating about Doak's legacy is how he achieved this massive, sweeping influence without ever establishing a formal academy. Instead, he founded Renaissance Golf Design. And that name? Yeah, definitely not an accident. Just like the historical Renaissance marked a period of rediscovering timeless principles while looking to the future, Doak's firm does exactly the same thing for golf architecture. He and his team approach every single project with profound humility. Instead of just slapping a dramatic spectacle onto a site, they prioritize incredibly thoughtful design. The core ethos of the whole operation is that the land always gets the first opportunity to speak. So, instead of reading textbooks, young designers just studied his routing plans and his deceptively natural bunkers, and today, they follow his exact methodology step by step. First, you walk the property until you literally know its soul. Second, study how the wind moves. Third, examine the natural contours. And finally, the fourth step, which is honestly the hardest for any eager young architect, you have to resist the temptation to move earth simply because you have a bulldozer. They learned that vital lesson of restraint directly from Doak's blueprint.
All right, part 4, the masterpiece, Old Macdonald.
All of this restraint we've been talking about, it culminated in a massive defining achievement. Bandon Dunes, Old Macdonald, which opened in 2010. While some courses are built to celebrate modern innovation, Old Macdonald is really a celebration of gratitude. It's named for Charles Blair Macdonald, who is widely considered the father of American golf architecture and the master of the classic template hole. So this wasn't just another commission for Doak. It was a deeply heartfelt tribute to the pioneers who originally proved that strategy and the natural landscape are the greatest teachers in golf.
But rather than just lazily copying famous holes, Old Macdonald respectfully reinterprets those classic strategic concepts. You got these incredibly expansive greens that practically force you to use your imagination, wide fairways that reward thoughtful positioning over just pure brute strength, and the ground contours, they dictate every single decision you make out there. Honestly, walking this course feels like traveling straight through the history of architecture itself, proving once and for all that an architect's absolute greatest skill is choosing what not to build.
And finally, Section 5, the enduring minimalist legacy.
Because the truth is, Tom Doak's ideas are going to far outlast even his finest physical golf courses. Walk across an ancient links in Scotland, stand atop the dunes of Oregon, watch the wind sweep across Tasmania, or just look out over the cliffs of New Zealand. We're talking different continents, entirely different cultures, but they all share this one universal truth. The land always speaks first. The golfer simply listens. Tom Doak spent a lifetime teaching his profession to replace their ego with the patience required to just let nature shine.
Which leaves us with a pretty powerful question to reflect on as we wrap up. If nature has always been the finest architect, what greatness could we achieve in our own endeavors by simply choosing to do less? Think about how the power of minimalism, restraint, and just thoughtful listening might totally transform the work that you do. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning the status quo, and I will see you next time.